What's your sense of the Democratic Senate leadership now? John Sampson, Malcolm Smith, Pedro Espada. Are they
Pedro
people?
Espada's gotta go.
He's the majority leader. Your party picked him.
I'm voting against him, and I already came out publicly stating that. Look, Roy McDonald stood up last summer and was a part of the coup and voted for Pedro Espada as our leader. We now need to make changes in Albany, so we need new people in order to make those changes, and I expect to be a part of that change.
Roy McDonald did that because he wanted the Republicans to take back control of the Senate.
Okay, then
didn't
why
he?
doesn't he start serving his constituency instead of worrying about who's in charge?
Because when you're with the majority, you can help your constituency better, can you not?
You have to try. He uses his minority status as an excuse over and over and over again. I've been a minority on the county board for 6 years.
Yeah, you know how it feels.
I've gotten accomplished a number of things because I work across the aisle and I represent my constituency first, and that's what I'm going to do in the Senate. And that's what Roy McDonald should have been doing, but he missed the boat.
Joanne, are you drawing an analogy between the Saratoga Board of Supervisors, collegial that it is and kind of a friendly place in many ways? I used to cover it years ago. And the New York State Senate, you think they're comparable?
No, I'm just saying Albany is dysfunctional and where we need the help now, and so I'm stepping up to serve in the state level. That's where we need help with fiscal management. We should be balancing budgets on time, and we should also be concentrating on concluding this VLT deal and get going on taking action on some other very important issues instead of dysfunction and worrying about who's got the power and who's in charge.
Last I recall, Roy McDonald used to get a lot of praise for his role as supervisor in the town of Wilton, which was and probably still is, a very prosperous town just north of Saratoga Springs. In the Assembly, he couldn't do too much because he was in the minority, but in the Senate, when the Republicans were there, he was only there just a short time, he claimed to have accomplished some things. Isn't Roy McDonald, though, somebody who's had some real achievements in the town of Wilton? Why do you think he should be tossed out?
Well, Wilton isn't even in the 43rd Senate District, number one, and neither is most of his Assembly district. So I want to just go on record in thanking him for his service for all these years.
Hold on. Has he moved out of Wilton?
I'm sorry?
How does he represent, if he was the supervisor of Wilton, is he no longer living in Wilton?
That's not, he may be. I'm not sure.
Because he has to, you said Wilton wasn't in his Senate district, and I'm just wondering how could he represent it if he lives in Wilton and it's not in his district?
He doesn't represent Wilton anymore. He did when he was supervisor.
But he couldn't do it now if he was a senator unless he has moved out of Wilton. That's my point. You can't live in one district and represent another one.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Do you know why that is? How can you say maybe he's left, but why? How could his town not be in his district and he still live in the town?
You're going to have to ask Roy that.
Okay. So you don't
I'm
know
not
where
sure,
he lives?
but I certainly live in the 43rd Senate District, and I'm going to continue to live here.
Hold on, but you don't know where Roy McDonald lives now? Is that it?
No, I really don't know his address.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'll find out.
Okay, that would be great.
But just asking about, what's wrong with Roy McDonald? Why, given his record in the town of Wilton, should he now be sort of defenestrated from the Senate?
Well, the town of Wilton is his past. I'm going to represent the future of this state. And again, I want to thank Roy McDonald for his service. And we now need to look to the future and who's going to take us forward. And I feel that's myself. I'm not voting for Pedro Espada like Roy McDonald did. And I'm going to be a full-time senator, unlike Roy McDonald, who is a part-time senator. And these families are struggling. We've already gone to 6,000 to 7,000 doors. And everybody I knock on really having a hard time, Fred. We got to do something for the families.
I don't know, a lot of prosperous people up in your area. There wasn't a single person who was doing well. Last I looked at Saratoga Springs, the place is booming.
I'm representing the whole 43rd.
No, I understand that, but you said every door you knocked on, you said.
Oh, we're all over the district,
I
absolutely.
know, but I'm just saying, hold on.
I'm just saying we're starting a tour around the 43rd.
I understand, but listen to what I'm saying. You said that every door you knocked down, you found people who were suffering, and I'm saying in Saratoga Springs, in that area, there are plenty of prosperous people up there. Didn't you find a single one?
It's kind of interesting because the city turns into a whole different place in the summer. You know, our population goes from 27,000 to over 100,000. Most of them are visitors, and most of them are part-time residents. So we have to do our job of what
So you're saying all the permanent residents are suffering? I don't understand what your point is. All I asked was, didn't you find a few people who were doing well since you live in an area that's very prosperous?
Because racing was preserved this year, we did okay, but we can't count on this for the future.
That wasn't my question. Okay, I'm going to move on. How do you feel about Andrew Cuomo's proposed 2% property tax cap on school and municipal property taxes?
We cannot let property taxes go up. That's the number one issue that I'm finding in Rensselaer County. And
I
that's what I meant by
asked about
families
Cuomo's
struggling.
cap, though. I'm asking about Cuomo's cap. Do you support it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's what I was asking. And you, of course, support Andrew Cuomo for governor. He wants to crack down on public employee unions, saying no pay raises for the public employee unions next year. We can't afford it. How do you feel about that?
I think we need to do whatever we can to cut expenses without hurting the working families of my district. I'm going to continue to represent the 43rd Senate District when I get elected, and we've got to do something about the skyrocketing, out-of-control spending.
Joanne, I wish you could just answer my questions. I asked you how you feel about a proposal that there would be no pay increase for municipal public employees over the next year because of the state's difficult problems. Do you support that or not?
The state is in very fiscal
I understand the state's
trouble,
in problem.
So yes, we have to do everything we can to tighten our belts.
Including capping the pay of public employees.
I will support Andrew Cuomo's plan to get this fiscal house in order. Yes.
Fair enough. I mean, a lot of people down here, once they come down here, come into the under the thrall of the public employee unions, as you know, that dominate this state government here. Are you aware of the influence of the huge amounts of money that the special interests spend here, and how do you resist that if you are aware of it?
Yeah. Special interests are controlling a lot of our elected officials right now, so we have to be very cautious of that, and I think everybody should disclose everything that they're accepting and what they're making on the side on side jobs.
Do you think it's possible that the special interests who you concede are controlling a lot of our public officials may be controlling the Democratic leadership of the Senate?
They can't control Albany anymore. We have to start working for the people of this district again, and that's exactly what my priority is and why I'm running.
Well, I wish you the luck. It's not easy to be a member of the political class, as you know, and running for office is very, very difficult. Just a quick last question. The tide seems to be running nationally for the Republicans. Does that give you pause at all that it may be a tough year for Democrats?
No, because I've worked at a very bipartisan level, and I'm going to be a strong independent voice. I mean, clearly, for a state-level position, you have to run on a major party. But the way I do business and the way I stand on issues, I think will represent the majority of this district, and I look forward to doing that.
Well, Joanne Yespen, we thank you again for joining us this morning. Best of luck. We wish everybody in the political world that. It's our democracy after all, and hope to speak to you again soon. We've got to take a break.